Aggression is one of the last dirty words in our culture. You can be crass, you can be rude, you can even be profane, but aggressive, don't be aggressive, except it's wrong, dead wrong. I promise you, nothing of meaning and transcendence will come into your life passively. It's time for you to get into the arena to push back against a passive, mediocre existence. I'm Brian Tome, and this is The Aggressive Life. Well, welcome back to The Aggressive Life. You never know who we're going to talk to or what we're going to talk about. The only thing you know for sure is we're going to talk aggressively. We are sick of passivity in our culture. We're tired of mediocrity. We're so done with waiting for things to happen. We are making things happen. And today, my guest is a friend of mine. You may know him, at least you may know him from your television. His name is Solomon Wilcots, former NFL player, sideline reporter, podcast guru, one amazing specimen of masculinity. I know him as Solomon. You will know him as Solomon Wilcots. How are you today, Solomon?
Brian, I'm doing great, and always great to be on with you.
Well, I hope you feel that in a little bit, because you never know how aggressive we're going to get on The Aggressive Life. Just tell your take on aggressiveness. You have a number of different income streams in your life. You've been a professional athlete. Just give us a little stump speech on the role of aggression as you see it.
Yeah, I could tell you about me personally is that I'm not a huge risk taker. I've never really been a huge risk taker, but if you're going to do something great in your life, if you're going to do something that's uncommon, that means first, you're going to feel afraid, you're going to feel intimidated, you're going to feel like you're not worthy or you're not up to the challenge, but you go anyway.
Talk about on a football field. What role does aggression have on the football field?
Well, for one, it's very difficult to go out and perform without aggression. Even as a quarterback, and you don't think about quarterbacks being having aggression, but you've seen Tom Brady when after he throws a touchdown pass, he's like fired up. He's wanting to headbutt, chest bump with his offensive lineman. But think from a quarterback's perspective. Think about aggression or being aggressive with maybe throws that he's attempting down the field. He's not being conservative. He's not taking the safe way out. I'm going to throw the check down to the running back coming out of the backfield. No, I'm going to throw it to Randy Moss or Julian Edelman in double coverage because I know Jules will make the play. That's aggressive. That's believing in something that maybe what he's seeing on the field and maybe what he's seen from the defense, maybe that wouldn't suggest you should throw that pass. But his faith, his belief in himself, his belief in Julian Edelman, and the work that they have put in together and practice every single day, that's what allows him to say, I'm going for it. And you see him doing it all the time. Right. And you see quarterbacks. So that's not to mention running backs or defensive linemen. We know they can be aggressive, and we know how an aggressive mindset pays off for them, but you need to think about it for just about every single player in any sport.
Well, you just brought up a topic that I've been meaning to talk to you about because I've been wanting somebody who has some intelligence and some coherence to have this conversation with. And Solomon, you are the man on this.
Now that's showing a lot of faith.
It is. I have it. Here it is. You brought it up every time I see the New England Patriots huddle up. I'm always struck by how many white people are in it. I count. I end up counting. I think I counted on the offensive side 6 white people. But as I thought about this, I haven't had anyone in the know to talk to about this at all. You're the first one I have. Since I was a little kid watching the NBA, I was always amazed, interesting how the Celtics made sure that they got Larry Bird. Interesting how then it was Danny Ainge, McHale. I mean, obviously the Celtics were the first team to have a black coach, and I'm not. It's just Interesting. And then as I watch, of course, the Boston Bruins, of course, everyone in NHL is white, but nonetheless.
And the Red Sox. I mean, Boston has a great sports tradition. And if you were to look on what's called the Mount Rushmore of athletes in Boston, most of those players would be white. In other words, the great athletes of Boston, one being Bill Russell, would certainly be on there, but the others would be like, Larry Bird, Carl Yastrzemski. It'll be a Boston Bruin player, Chelios, right? Someone like that.
Just go down the list with the Patriots. Who's all the white, fast little receivers? Edelman,
Hogan, Chris Hogan,
Welker, Danny Amendola.
Danny Amendola.
That goes on and on. It's like they're saying we need someone that's really tough and fast and white. Tell me I'm off base here. What am I missing?
No, I think, remember, they did have a guy named Randy Moss, who's not white, and he was a great player for them.
Yes.
They've had other receivers. I forget the little short guy who was a...
Well, you can't have all white people.
I know, that's what I'm trying to say.
You can't have all white people.
I just think... I do know there's basic tenets that the Patriots, they subscribe to in terms of players they want. They want players who are smart, and they want players who the game means a lot to them. In other words, that they're going to work hard every single day, and that they're really playing because they love the game, that effort and that energy, that discretionary energy. That's the energy that you give up at your own discretion.
Ooh, I like that. Discretionary energy.
You don't,
I like that.
Like I can pay you a salary and you're going to perform a function that meets the requirement of that salary, but no further.
Discretionary
but no further.
Energy.
It's the energy
like
that we all give up at our own discretion, right? And it's at our own discretion because you ever heard someone say, I would run through a wall for that guy. Well, why wouldn't you run through a wall for that guy or for that guy? See, we pick and choose who we'll run through a wall for. That means it's at our own discretion. We decide when we're going to give up more energy than normal.
Yes.
And all the studies show that salary or prizes or incentives aren't sustainable. It's not enough to sustain that energy, okay? And so that discretionary energy is something that Bill Belichick he wants to tap into players who are self-driven and motivated, where they're giving up that energy. They love the game enough, and they're giving up that kind of energy every day they come to work. And he has a way of determining who those players are, even when they go through the college draft. And that we know that as what we call professionalism, right?
Yeah.
But you and I both know we can hire 100 people, and we can think they've got it, but it's not going to be 100% in 100% of the people.
Mm-hmm. I like to probe on this because, being aggressive, it isn't just about running through a wall, taking somebody's head off. In fact, there's obviously very negative forms of aggression. Understand that entirely. Mm-hmm. And yes, period. But there's a lot of things that we're not using discretionary energy for to step into something. And I think one of the things is, quite frankly, our race conversation in our country here.
I agree.
That's why I'm pushed on this a little bit. I mean, we know when we see out and out racism and we blow up over. We just go bonkers over it when we see it. But the underlying issues we're not really willing to talk about, and we're not willing to ask.
It makes most people uncomfortable.
It does.
It's a very uncomfortable place for people to go. And then when some people attempt to go there, let's face it, people have been criticized, ostracized, and penalized for just saying the wrong thing. Not that their heart is impure. They just may have said something that offended the wrong person at the wrong time, and now they're penalized, they're ostracized for it. That doesn't help, right, with the attempt to have an ongoing dialogue and communication. Personally, we can look back since the beginning of time in terms of what we know about man, about the human experience, right? Every single tribe, every single person, every single human is more comfortable when they are amongst their own tribe. Now, that doesn't make it whether right or wrong. No one's saying that's morally right or immorally. It's absolutely wrong. That's just a human. That's a human thing that most people, almost every single one of them, feel more comfortable around their own tribe because of cultural things and things that are pull our heart, our mind, our psyche, right? Having to put several tribes together in this great experiment that we call America. There's going to be tests. There's going to be trials. How do we make it work? And when it doesn't work, or when there are moments, we go to the lowest common denominator and say that it's because he's different than me. Not because, well, maybe that person, their morals don't align. Maybe our values don't align. And how do we get all those? It's got nothing to do with color of skin, right?
Yes.
It really doesn't. It's got, I've heard a good friend say to me, when you talk about your friends, it may be someone who's of your color, but not your kind. And there may be someone who's of your kind, but not your color. We all need to be looking for people who are of our kind.
I like that.
We share values that I feel, because we all want the same thing. We want to raise our children to be independent, to be healthy, to be happy.
Yep.
When you think about all the things that most of us really do have in common, that's mean we are of the same kind.
Are we getting better or worse as a culture?
I think unfortunately we go through these cycles, right? There's these ebbs and flow in time from generation to generation where it gets better, then it gets worse. There just seems to be this tug of war, but I think unfortunately we're worse. I think there's been times when we've been better.
Why are we worse right now? You feel that personally as a black man?
The other day, my son and we were going into his apartment complex. There was a gentleman driving out, and he just started honking. And I was like, "What did I do? Was I supposed to stop? Did I?" And then I wasn't supposed to stop. We were, cruising by, and then when he pulled out, and I pulled into the next, it was sort of parking structure. I pulled in. He flipped me off. I don't know what he shouted. But I told my son, I said, "You see that?" I said, "I'm going to tell you something. We live in a different world. You cannot respond to that behavior." People are taking lives.
It was a white guy?
Yes.
Did you interpret it was partially racially
motivated?
There was
nothing else to infer.
Wow.
I didn't cut him off. We didn't nearly almost have an accident. There was nothing. I didn't, because I was like, did I do something? And my son was like, no, we didn't do anything. And so my whole point to that is, we just need to have greater empathy. I think the empathy has been driven out of our culture today.
Yeah.
To understand other people and have other people understand us, to not be so quick to judge. Certainly not be so quick to have animus to someone simply because they appear to be different.
See, and that's why I have to trust someone like you who says it's worse, because I'm of the dominant culture. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm white. I don't know if you know this. I'm very white. It is awesome to be white, I must say.
I will say this. I think when people say, I didn't even notice you were black, I'm like, hey, listen, it's okay. You know how some people say, I'm colorblind, I don't see no difference.
Right.
How about this? How about if we ask you to notice the difference, but still notice the similarities?
Oh, there you go.
See, when people try to take the easy out, no, I don't notice any difference. Well, then you're kind of being what we call intellectually or emotionally dishonest, right?
Totally, totally.
Here's the real test, and I would suspect that our Creator wants us to see the total difference and still love.
Yes. Right.
And still love each other.
And I've got to love you, and I got to trust you, because as a white guy, I don't have any stories. I don't have a single story where my race made for a bad day. I don't have a single one.
Wow.
I know. Wow. I know. You say, there's no way I can talk to a black man and him to understand that topic, because everyone I know has got multiple stories of how they have problems because of their skin color.
I have friends, very dear friends, who I've had conversations with, and I'll talk to them, and then we start to talk about history, and we talk, you can't separate, none of us live in a vacuum. Like, the present is connected to our past, right? And our future is connected to our present. That line in the sand of time, that's what it is. It's all connected. And so when I have conversations with them, they'll say, well, that was back then. How does that affect you? So it's kind of like throwing things out. And so what I really like to help people understand, I said, typically, in almost every person that I know, particularly African-American male, who's been stopped by the police.
Which is probably every African-American male you know.
That's when the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Because I can live, if I have enough income, I can live in a neighborhood where there's some buffers. I can surround myself with people who are like me. If I can, there's a lot of ways that you can buffer, right? And then say, well, I don't think that exists. But I'm going to tell you right now, you get pulled over by the cops and it's a real moment. And you see it in the news where how many people are, for whatever reason, whether I'm not blaming that it's the cop's fault or it's the person, and I think it's a situation by situation deal. Sometimes police are provoked. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's in between. I'm not here to really bring up any specific issue. I'm just saying that I've been pulled over before. I know a lot of guys like me been pulled over before. We all have similar stories. And the lesson is that you have every black man in this country, when they have a son who is of age and they begin to drive, there's a conversation that has to be had. And I know friends, and then I'll say, have you had the talk with them? Because my son got his license. You had the talk with him? Of course I have. And if someone hasn't, we would say to them, dude, you're derelicting your duty as a dad.
A lot of people do not know this talk. What is the talk?
The talk is, you tell your son, if you are pulled over by the cops, for whatever reason, first thing you do, you put both hands on the dashboard. Second thing is, you are to be totally respectful. Yes, sir, no, sir, and you do not move your hands. If he asks for license, registration, proof of insurance, it's in the glove box. Do you want to get it or do you want me to get it? I want you to get it. I'm going to now reach for it and I'm going to get it. I'm not armed. I don't have anything, sir, so I'm just doing what you're asking me to do. These are critical survival skills. Absolutely. Now, I think if you're not of an African-American male, you could be another minority, I guess, but someone like yourself.
I teach my kids how to get out of tickets.
Yeah.
That's my talk.
You're having a whole nother conversation.
Totally. 'Cause I got a system down, man.
You're like, okay, what did I do?
No.
What did I do? Do you have probable or reasonable cause to stop me off? I don't know.
No, would you like me to tell you the system? How you got
tell me.
This is how it happens. So, guy comes up to the car, officer. You roll down the window, and what most people do is wrong. And he says, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And what do you say? "No, officer, I don't know." It's wrong. He comes over and says, "You know why I pulled you over?" You said, "Yes, officer, I do. I was speeding back there. I was wrong. I'm sorry." And he says, "Okay, license, registration." You say, because right away they're freaked out because like, oh wow, he actually said what he did. And right before, this is the key one, right before you give it to him, you look him in the eye and you say, "Officer, do you think you could forgive me just this once?" And then he takes his arm and he goes back to his car. And everyone wants to forgive somebody, right?
Everyone wants to how loud somebody. I'm laughing, right? I got to tell you.
That's what you do.
That just goes to show you, though, the two different mindsets and the, in terms of how we live and the freedoms that we express on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's tough. Is there much racial tension in the NFL?
I've
with
seen
the players?
it. Oh, yeah.
Even when people are playing with each other all the time on the same team, it's still there?
Here are the things that aren't tolerated. You'll be surprised now. These are things that are not really tolerated. The religion, keep that out of the locker room.
Religion?
From an ownership perspective, they don't want it. Now, we do have Bible studies. You do have, but that's not in the locker room because there are people with different beliefs. Yeah. And if you begin to have your belief, and now that over in that corner, they're having another, that they believe that divides the team up. Okay. Same with politics. If you're having, you've got the Republicans over there, the independents over here. And so that's why it's an unwritten rule.
That's smart.
Where they do not want those things creeping into what we call a team that's got to go out there with a lot of emotion. And so those are the things that they frown upon. However, having played in the NFL, say, for instance, I've had a teammate. He's white. He's a running back. And if you look at most running backs in the NFL, most of them are African-American. A good friend of mine, Hodge. He worked for ESPN. Awesome guy. He's a dear friend of mine. We play golf together. And but when we were in Pittsburgh, he was the minority in the room. Huh. So, I know what that's like. I've seen it. And you know what I've always said? And when I was a kid, like if I saw, you watch a movie and you see people treating someone bad or whatever, I was always the kid that, if I ever saw that, I'd have to say something. I'd have to do something about it. I'd have to stand up. And I remember there were teammates who treated Merrill, I thought, in a very negative way. I thought in a way that was detrimental to our ability to become a complete
What'd they
team.
do?
Call him words. They were rude.
What kind of words?
Racial words, white boy, stuff like that. And
they call him the C word.
The C word. As you would, what would you call the C word?
I understand. Like cracker is a bad thing.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh man,
that would be. That would be off limits in my home. I can just tell you that.
What?
You don't get to say those things. And you don't get to say those things to my friends. And Merrill Hodge is a good friend of mine. And I remember going to one of my teammates and saying, it was in the quiet because I didn't want to embarrass the guy who did it. I said, hey, man, you can't talk to him like that. I said, we have to go out and play together. We have to win together. And I said, when I was in Cincinnati, that's why we beat you guys every time we play you. You guys were talented, but we beat you because we knew you would pull the pin on your own hand grenade because you wouldn't stick together as a team. When adversity hit, you guys would find a way to lose. I said, and stuff. That's the reason why it happens. And I can tell you right now, the Steelers have been a better team. It had nothing to do with what I brought to the table. It was really just about understanding you can't talk to your teammates like that. You've got to be respectful. But I remember that, and he and I have talked about that, the way that he was treated in an NFL locker room. So it goes to show you that whoever is in the majority, they have the responsibility to really set the example for how you're going to treat people.
Yeah, well, I admire you for that, brother. I mean, that's an aggressive move, stepping in and helping a buddy out like that, and that really speaks really, really well of you.
Yeah.
We just so oftentimes just see bad stuff happen, and we just let it go instead of stepping in.
Yeah.
Not good. How about, let's talk about going too far. Let's talk about the dark side of aggression. When do you see it going foul? Where do you see us abusing the principle of aggression?
With men, when we have so much pride, right? And so, say if someone says something, particularly say if our girlfriend's next or if our wife is next to, if our significant other is with us, and then we don't want to look bad, right, in front of, or we don't want to appear to be weak or come off feeble. And someone may cut you off in the road as you're driving. And then you're like, you honk. And then they flip you off, and then you flip them off back, and then they get out, and they stop, and they say something. You say, see how it escalates?
Yes.
And, I just really believe I've come over time in my life. I've come to know that courage really is about the ability to not have to worry about who looks weak. Courage is really about being able to overcome the potential for disaster, to de-escalate a situation, even if you're the humble one, even if you have to be what we call the bigger man, right? And that's really appealing to our better angel. It's really just saying, you know what? Have you ever said to someone when you've been right, they were wrong, and you say to them, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's an aggressive move.
That's an aggressive move.
Absolutely is.
How many people can do that?
Yeah.
When you feel you're right and you know what they did was wrong, they cut in front of you at the grocery store, got in the line, cut you off, and you said, hey, I was here first. And then they returned venom. And then you said, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. And just let it go.
You bring up a really good point here because Aggression is about pushing your life forward. Aggression is not about having your way. It's about pushing your life forward. And so with my wife, I've just learned after 32 years of marriage, most of the time I just want to roll over. Now, she would disagree with me. She thinks I always have to win, and she's probably right more times than I want to admit it. But you realize, what do I get from winning this argument?
Yeah.
I get nothing.
You get nothing.
My wife doesn't feel better. My life doesn't go forward at all. I like to say, with the people I work with, hey, I'm happy to be wrong. Happy to be wrong. Because I just want the right thing to happen and push it forward. I don't need to be right. And I think we miss that with aggression. This is not about manning up or womaning up or trying to prove how strong we are or how witty we are. Does the thing that you're engaged in right now, if you have your way, will your life go farther forward? Yeah. It doesn't matter if someone cuts us off in traffic. That will mean nothing to my day. That will be nothing to my W-2. Nothing at all.
Did you hear me use the analogy earlier when I said be the one to pull the pin on your own hand grenade?
Yes, I heard.
That's the metaphor or the analogy that I use to help myself to gauge my conduct, to gauge my words, just engage in terms of how I treat others. Because there are times when I could lose it or I could be a little edgy based on the treatment of others or what someone says to me when my son is driving by and I may want to return that. I may feel that energy to want to return that. And then I think I have so much to lose and very little to gain.
Well, not only that, you mentioned earlier discretionary energy, which, dude, that's such a deep concept. That could be a life changer for me. I might have had you on this podcast just so I could hear that because it's so good. Because the other thing I think about with that is every amount of energy I spend on one thing, I don't have the energy for another thing.
Right.
My wife, she cracked her kneecap. It's a bummer. She cracked her kneecap. She fell down in a concrete bathroom, just slipped with flip-flops, cracked her kneecap, and she's one of these women who just wants to be macho and tough it out.
That's a tough one to come back from. I can tell you that.
She's an old athlete, old gymnast. And so she, like me, doesn't want to take pain meds. And a doc told me a number of years ago something that totally revolutionized my thinking on this. He said, look, Brian, you only have so much energy. So you can have your body's energy fighting the pain, or you can have your body's energy healing itself. You decide which.
I
was like,
that.
yeah. So I've been on her like, hey man, take those pain meds. But we can't get all worked up about everything. We can't be even this. We can't be aggressive about everything. Like my lawn. I am not aggressive on my lawn. It looks pretty crappy. It really does. Haven't gotten around to putting a layer of mulch around my house yet. We're well into summer here, and I haven't gotten around to it because I don't have the energy to do that. So far, the last couple months, I haven't had the energy to do that without being able to do the things that I know I need to do to push my life forward.
Prioritize.
Yeah.
You've prioritized. And, when we talk about pulling the pin on your own hand grenade, it's every single day in our decisions and how we treat other people. We're sowing seeds, right? We all are sowing seeds.
That's right.
When we come in contact with people and our treatment of them and our interactions with them, we're either pouring into them or they're pouring into us, or we're robbing and sapping out of them, okay? Or they're sapping that energy out of us.
Yes.
We have some say-so in what that exchange is going to be like.
Well, let's end with this, Solomon. I've had a brilliant conversation with you, as I always do. I just love being able to capture this on tape because you and I go round and round a lot of this stuff when we hang out. It's wonderful. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
You keep bringing in faith elements. You drop in like sowing seeds. That's something that's in the New Testament. Sow seeds, what you reap, what you sow. Right. You're talking about faith stuff. I mean, a lot of people think that people of faith are weenie boys who are only passive. And what would faith have to do to inform a discussion on aggression? What does it have to do? How can you be about aggression and be about faith at the same time?
I think having an understanding of who you are, what God's purpose is in your life. And once you capture that vision, once that vision is realized, I'm going to tell you right now, it's like your hair is on fire. The energy that you have and the determination that you have, no one can tell you no, because you've already seen it. The vision of what your life is meant to be, once it's revealed to you and once you have seen it, no one can keep you away from that. That the energy that comes with that vision is one that gives, you see it in people. They'll tell you, I felt unstoppable. I felt, people will tell you that. Now, that tells you that when it comes to faith, it really makes you more aggressive. Believing makes you more active.
Right.
Okay, remember,
right.
I think it comes with having an understanding of who you are. I think it also comes with having a vision. Once you have that vision and that understanding, the two create this force of nature that exists in every single one of us. Mm-hmm. It becomes a force. And I'm telling you right now, look out. Yeah, great things are about to happen.
I look at it this way. Faith is not convincing yourself to believe stupid things that are probably wrong.
No,
we're
not talking the same thing.
No, faith is, as you and I are practicing it, faith is, I'm going after something I can't see. If you want to get a raise, you can't see it. If you want to find a great wife or a great husband, you can't see her or him yet. They're maybe not in your life.
Yeah.
If you want to earn more money, if you want to build a business, if you want to build your biceps larger, these are all things that you have faith in, meaning you can't see them right now. They're not real. But what faith does is it tells you, it informs you that while I can't see that right now,
possible.
If I go after this aggressively now, I may be able to have that.
It comes into being.
That's the Christian faith.
That's exactly right. And where it says, hey, call those things that are not as though they were. Begin to believe, begin to act, begin to put into motion and to behave like it's inevitable. And begin to move. So in that way, okay. So let's be real. You're the guy. You're wanting that life partner. You know she's out there somewhere, but all you're doing is sitting at home playing video games. Not gonna happen.
Playing video games. Oh, you're sitting at home doing Tinder and spanking off. That's what you're doing.
Not gonna happen.
No.
And no, it's not gonna come in that form. But if you put yourself out there and say, okay, I'm gonna go to an event tonight. I'm gonna make sure I introduce myself to, someone that I find very interesting. And then you say, but I'm not that good with words. I'm not that courageous. Well, it's time. That's where the aggression comes into play.
Yes.
It's that time. The courage to know that you are not meant to be alone.
Yes.
You got to understand, you're not meant to be alone, right? None of us are meant to be alone.
And you have to try and ask somebody out and get to know them. They may say no. They may not want to be around you, but you don't know that unless you ask them.
Absolutely.
My daughter is about ready to graduate from college. She's got one more year left, and she's got a great boyfriend. She's with her high school boyfriend, and he's just done a really, really great job with her. And I thought when she got to this big state university, massive one, University of Cincinnati. Man, I thought, boy, I don't know what's going to happen with the relationship with this guy, because dudes are going to come out of the woodwork after her, because my daughter's a total package. She really is on a bunch of different levels.
Yeah.
And man, not a single dude asked her out the entire time.
Wow.
Not a single guy, even coming around and wondering, are you dating somebody? And is there play? Not a single solitary one. I'm like, my word, what is going on with the male species? Have we gotten that passive that when there's a woman that's put together well, emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally, you don't have the faith to just have a conversation? Not even a conversation. We are so ill-equipped today to do things that everyone used to do because we've gone passive.
So I was visiting some friends down in Miami. This was 2 years ago. And it just so happened we went down to the beach, and just so happened it was the same time, right around the same time as some of the schools were on spring break. And I said, me and my buddy, we were sitting there. I said, hey, let's just watch people. And then here comes these gorgeous young ladies. They're coming, and they're walking toward a group of guys. You could see they're prepping themselves to, hoping the guys say hello. And these guys, everyone's looking at their phone as they're walking.
Gosh.
They're pretending to be preoccupied. So they, just to avoid the pressure of having to be the first one to say, hello, young ladies, how you girls doing? Oh, they didn't have it. And then I watched group after group of young, I call them boys, but young men. And so finally, I was like, I've seen enough. And so I went down to one group. And I said, hey, man, you guys come here. I said, do you see those young ladies? You know why they're looking back? They're looking back at you. Because you guys just walked by them. You didn't even say hello. You didn't tell them how pretty they are, how lovely their hair may look. You didn't ask them, hey, are you in school? What school do you go to? What are you studying in school? What are your aspirations? There are a lot of things you could have said.
It's unbelievable.
I said, what? I'll tell you, my generation, they wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
I said, they wouldn't. I said, a group of young ladies would not have been able to make it that far without us.
Totally.
I said, where's the courage? Where's the...
Hey, ladies, let me tell you right now, ladies, on behalf of the male species, let me apologize.
I'm apologizing.
I don't know what's happening with my species. Ladies, I'm sorry. You deserve more. I don't get it.
My.
And then now to all the guys, let me say all the guys. Hey, guys, let me tell you something. The greatest thing you will be able to do in your life, if you want maximum impact, is have a teammate. Solomon had teammates in the NFL he went on and off with. If you can find a teammate, i.e. marriage for the rest of your life, you will be mind-blown how much your life will accelerate. And then here's the thing. This is so huge. Because all the other weenie boys around you or look at their phones, you literally have the pick of the crop. You don't have to be the best looking guy any longer.
No.
You don't have to be the best built guy any longer.
No.
You don't have to be the funniest guy any longer.
No.
You don't even need
Which
to have
helps.
the best. That does. You don't even need to have the best job prospects any longer.
It helps, but you don't.
All you need to do is look them in the eye and start a conversation, and you can woo them because nobody else will, and your life is set up.
It's set up.
Brother, we're about out of time. This has been great. Will you come back and do this again?
Anytime you ask.
All right. Well,
I'm back.
that will be again, I promise. Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Solomon Wilcots for being with us, and we'll see you next time on The Aggressive Life. Hey, thanks for listening. If this episode has impacted you, hey, share with somebody else. All of us have influence, people that can look to us for direction. Use your influence positively, aggressively. And if this has meant something to you, then pass it along to those that you're leading. You can see more at briantome.com or search me on Instagram. Special thanks to the band Judges for our music. You can find more from them on Instagram at The Band Judges or at facebook.com/The Band Judges. Aggressive Life with Brian Tome is a production of Crossroads Church, Cincinnati, Ohio.